Hello everybody and welcome back to IELTS Master. This is video number 22 and we are on the path to discover the speaking skill. Now speaking, as I mentioned in the previous video, is not such a terrible nightmare. It's a sweet dream actually. What happens in the exam room is not as bad as you might think. The examiners are going to be very friendly and the questions are going to be kind of simple. The first questions that you are asked. So don't freak out. Now in the previous video, we were talking about some of the warm-up questions that you might have to answer, including questions about yourself, your hobby, and particularly where you come from. Today, we are moving to the next task, next part in the IELTS speaking test, part 2. And we're going to focus on how to describe a past event. Well, your childhood is beautiful? My childhood was very beautiful. I had a lovely memory of what I did when I was a little kid. And now when I'm a little adult, okay, it's still very nice, I'm just kidding. So, in terms of content, today we will cover two things. First is planning. Second is describing precautions. What do I mean by planning? Planning is taking notes and planning your ideas before you have to give your oral answers. Alright? When you receive the test, you have some time to take a look, take notes and think. That is planning. And next we're going to talk about describing precaution. I'll explain precaution later when we actually come to the point. Now, this is a sample part 2 question. Read it for a few seconds. Alright, I think you have finished, so now let's take a look. This task asks you to describe an important thing that you lost and what happened when you lost it. Alright, did you ever lose anything? Well, I lost my money, a lot of it. So you should say, now, why the thing was important to you, how you lost it, and what efforts you made to find it. Alright, finally explain what you will do in the future. That's the point. So you got 1, 2, 3, and 4 things to bear in mind. Okay, 4 key ideas for you to bear in mind. What did you lose? What was it important? How you lost it? Where were you going? Okay. For example, one of the students, they made this note about what they lost and what happened. So according to the note, maybe he lost a camera and he was at a wedding. And then he came on stage and everyone was in the room to find it for him. But then he asked the guard, but nobody could find it. Finally, it was the nephew who took it. And in the future, he will never be careless again. Alright, so it could be a very short note, but it helps you to plan your ideas very carefully before you actually have to start talking. So the next time when you receive a test in part 2, always plan carefully, okay? That's it. Now, some useful phrases that you might want to use when you are talking in part 2. Here you're describing a past event, aren't you? And describing a past event is like telling a story. And a story should have the first part, and then what happened after that, and what happened after that, and what happened after that, and what happened after that, blah, blah, blah. Okay, so we could start by saying, alright, well, I should say first. This is to start, this is to begin. I should say first that I lost my camera. I should say first that I lost my iPad. I should say first that I lost my school bag somewhere. I was attending a wedding and I was going on stage to sing a song. When I came back, I didn't see my camera anymore. Alright? So that's one phrase. To continue the story, you can say, to find it, I first looked around the table. To find it, I first asked everybody at the table. To find it, I first ran around the room and looking for it. Next, you can continue with after that. So to find it, I first asked everybody in the room, and after that, I tried to go outside the room to find it, asking everybody else. Finally, I found out that my nephew took the camera. Finally, I found out that my wife took the camera. And looking back, I realized that it was so careless of me to put my camera on the table. Looking back, I realized that it was so careless of me to leave my money on the bus. In the future, I will not be so careless again. In the future, I will always carry my camera on my neck so I won't lose it again. Something like that. So these are the phrases that you might want to use while you are giving your answer in the speaking test in part 2. Describing a past event. Okay. Now we're going to the next part. Describing precaution. What's a precaution? For example, in this sentence, in the future, I will put labels on my suitcases in case they get lost on the plane. One of these is a precaution and one is the situation. Which one is the precaution? This is the precaution. I will put the labels on my suitcase. It's a precaution. A precaution, you can understand it as a measure you do in order to prevent something from happening. Alright, so I will put labels on my suitcase. I will wear my camera on my neck in case they get lost on a plane. This is a possible situation that may happen in the future. So I take the precaution in order to prevent the possible situation from happening. Isn't that true? Now, I have some precautions and I have some situations. I want you to match them together. 30 seconds start now. Alright, I think that's enough time. So, let's say for the first precaution, put some keys in a flower pot in your garden. So, I will do this in case what? In case I lose my house keys. That could be one thing. I'm gonna keep a note of my password in case I cannot get into my emails. I will note the phone number of the embassy I am visiting in case I'm gonna lose my passport. I will keep a second umbrella in my car in case I leave mine at home. That can be a precaution. I will keep 20 pound in my shoe in case somebody robs me in the street. I still have some money to save myself. I'm gonna write down the phone number of my bank in case I lose my credit card. I can phone them immediately. Alright, so those are some precautions. And the precaution, normally they come at the end of the part 2 speaking test. You describe the past event, what did you learn, and in the future, what precautions will you take? Now, over to you. This is your task, this is your homework. Describe a time when you were late for an event. You should say what kind of event you were late for, a wedding? What caused you to arrive late? You were lazy, you woke up late. What happened to you when you arrived? You were kicked out of the room. And explain what you have learned from the experience. I learned never to be late again. Okay, so practice, use the phrases that I introduced, tell the story of what happened to you when you were late, and the precautions that you will take in the future. Now, that is enough for this video on speaking, describing a past event. I'd like you to review the information in here and then do the exercises that follow in order to practice your speaking even more. If you learn speaking without speaking, it's impossible to improve. So stop watching now and start speaking. Thank you very much. I'm gonna see you in the next video.